that great session. Wow, some really incredible programs that we all can learn from. Huge appreciation to all of our panelists. And guess what? Those of you still with us, you've made it to the end of the day. And yes, we did conjure up an installer tea time, just a relaxed conversation with some of the most important market actors in heat pump water heater adoption. We saved the best for last, our installers. We've got, HPWHI has an installer working group that we manage, and we've asked some of our key installers to come here, answer a couple questions. We've got some moderators. I will introduce them in just a second. Before we do that, I'm going to share my screen. And I do want to say a big thank you to our sponsor for this final session, Eco2 Systems. Here's a quick word from John Miles, who we heard earlier today, as we get our panelists set.
Good afternoon. I'm John Miles with Eco2 Systems. We are the provider of the Sanko 2 split-type heat pump water heater, which I hope that you saw earlier, as we actually had a session on split-type heat pump water heaters today. So the Sanko 2 system can be used in both residential and also the commercial marketplace. What we're going to do is match either one heat pump or multiple heat pumps with tanks that can go from 43 gallons all the way up to 505 gallons. The great thing about the Sanko 2 heat pump is that we actually use carbon dioxide as our refrigerant to make hot water. That makes the product environmentally friendly. So we're pleased to be sponsoring the installer tea time. So go ahead and enjoy that, and thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, John Miles. Thanks to Eco2 Systems for sponsoring this session. And I'd like to welcome our two moderators on to join us with our four installers on today. They will introduce them. We've got TTriss Williams Renard. She is from the she's the Economic Inclusion Manager at Emerald Cities Collaborative. Triss is a great ally and super excited to have her moderating. And Owen Howlett, he's a supervisor at the Efficiency Division at California Energy Commission. He is also a residential working group lead. So over to you, Triss and Owen. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Joe. Good afternoon, everyone. Joe, shall we just jump right in and see if we have questions, or should we do a little bit of overview first?
You know, this is installer tea time, so we can be a little bit flexible. But if you all if we want to have our installers introduce themselves, however you see fit, relaxed and informal.
Yeah, why don't we do that? This is a tea time, and we're getting cozy in this session with our expert heat pump water heater installer. So why don't we just do a round, and then maybe we can start with my co-moderator, Owen, and then just popcorn it around to Stephen, Anthony, Aaron, and Ruben.
Hi, sorry, my bandwidth is fading a little bit. Did you ask us to do intros?
Yep, just doing our quick intros.
Yep. Okay, so I'm Owen Howlett. I've been co-lead of the Advanced Water Heating Initiative residential group for I think 4 years now, 5 years. So we've shepherded this thing from nothing to this useful group of people who share interests together. In my day job, I get paid to help develop policy for California's energy transition.
Thank you, Owen. Who shall we designate? Maybe we'll go to Ruben next, since you're next to Owen on my screen.
Sounds good. Great to join you all. Yeah, my name is Ruben Veek. I'm the Executive Director for Sunwork Renewable Energy Projects. We're a nonprofit contractor based in California. We're headquartered in the San Francisco Bay Area. We originally started in solar, but got into heat pump water heaters about 4 years ago. As sort of the next frontier in clean energy deployment out here. We've done about 250 heat pump water heater installs so far across about 50 different jurisdictions, permitting jurisdictions in California, spanning 10 counties. So trying to get as much experience with the technology in the state as we can.
Thank you, Ruben. Stephen, do you want to go next?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Hello, I'm Stephen Brotton from Great Northwest, out of Portland, Washington, Oregon area. And we are a plumbing company that specializes in heat pump water heaters. And we also pride ourselves in a lot of the income qualified work we do, helping folks that really need help getting safe and healthy around their plumbing and water heating needs.
Wonderful. And we'll continue along and get to hear from Aaron a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me. My name's Aaron. I'm the owner of Larratt Brothers Plumbing. We do commercial and residential. I also own some software plunger that we use to help us install heat pump water heaters with as a program implementer. So that's fun stuff we're doing.
Very cool. And we will pass it over to Anthony next.
My name is Anthony. I do commercial and residential heat pump water heaters in the Bay Area. I own Providence water heaters in the East Bay and Excaliber water heaters in the San Francisco area.
Thanks, Anthony. And I can wrap us up. As Joe mentioned, my name is TTriss Williams-Renard. I am with Emerald Cities Collaborative, and I run our e-contractor program in Northern California. We're based on Ramaytush Ohlone land, otherwise known as San Francisco in this region. And we've trained over 3,000 small, diverse contractors nationwide, including on some fun heat pump installation and related applications. So as you can tell from our panelists today, we have a lot of expertise, and I'm just going to monitor the chat here. This is really all about you all being able to ask your questions. So we encourage you to put those in the chat, and we are happy to track those and get to them as they come in. But maybe to start with, we can just try one question on for size, which is, why do you all install heat pump water heaters, and what is your favorite thing about installing them? And I might lob that one over to Anthony to start with, since you're still up front and center on my screen.
Okay. For us, it's the future. Whether some like it or not, this is what we're going to be installing for the most part the rest of our careers here, or in some form of it. And in my opinion, and from our installers, we've found that they are easier to install than tankless water heaters. As soon as you figure out the little, nuances of the systems, it's fairly simple and whatnot. But I think the biggest thing for us is that we like that you have some incentives in terms of the client having a dehumidified basement, having a cooled garage. Those are really big selling points for a lot of clients in the Bay Area. And, I think for the most part, they sell themselves, especially right now.
Thanks, Anthony. And you bring up something that we heard Stephen mentioning before, which is really that this is we're talking about installation of equipment, but there's people at the center of this. So maybe I can pass it over to Stephen to get your thoughts on what it is that's your favorite thing about installing heat pump water heaters and why you install them.
No, thank you. So we've been doing this for quite a while, water heaters in general, and it's interesting to see how long it took for manufacturers, industries, whatever you want to think, to bring on a more efficient, better, operating machine. Heat pump water heaters, I mean, that's this next game. We know we've been out for quite a while, but consumers, contractors, just trying to bring those in, make them be a part of what they're selling and installing out there is still a slow go. We're really focused on the efficiency piece of it as well. I mean, being able to put something in the home that's going to save the homeowner and the consumer money. And it's the quickest, easiest way in Portland. I'm sure maybe other places do it, but in Portland, we have a home energy score that's done by realtors to sell homes. Water heater pops up on that. It's actually the least cost of, lose my marbles, it's been a long day. It's the most cost-effective product to be able to install in someone's home rather quickly and have such a big gain from it. So that's really important. And another piece of it for us is, again, that we work so much in the income qualified sector to be able to help someone get a water heater in their home that they typically wouldn't be able to afford to replace even a like for like system, but for us to be able to come in, put a heat pump water heater in, and not only were we able to help keep them or get them back into hot water, they have a brand new water heater, and the bonus, their utility costs go down. So that helps them in the long run. So way after the water heater's installed, they're able to keep seeing what they've gotten out of that month after month.
Some really great benefits to residents, as we've heard from both of you. Does Aaron, do you have anything to add to this about why you install heat pump water heaters, or what's your favorite thing?
Those guys hit it pretty good. Initially, I would say a couple years ago, it was fun just problem solving how we're going to make these things work. I think we're kind of gluttons for punishment at Larratt Brothers. We've been known for doing impossible projects and such, but it was fun early on trying to figure out some of the nuances, and even still with like smaller constraint spaces and that kind of stuff, and outdoor units now. And so it's interesting. It's new. It's interesting. I like that part of it.
Great point about the evolving nature of this too. And great to hear that perspective. I see we have a question coming from our audience, and maybe Owen, did you want to elevate that question in the chat from Jay Ortiz?
Yeah, sure. So a question from Jay Ortiz, and this is perhaps a question for manufacturers too, but in your guys' experience, do heat pump water heaters really cut out if the incoming air temperature is over 120 Fahrenheit? And similarly, if it's below whatever it is, 36, 37 Fahrenheit, does the heat pump also cut out, and so it reverts to the resistance element? Have you encountered that in the field, and does it affect where you choose to install water heaters or how you choose to duct them? Anybody can step up.
I can chime in halfway unhelpfully on that. So, we're installing mostly on the kind of in coastal California, and even in garages, which run a little hotter than the ambient air temperature. I think we're pretty rarely seeing temperatures get above 120. I do, take it at face value. What's written in the manufacturer's documentation that the heat pump, the upper end of the heat pump operating window is 120 degrees. Like, I trust the thermistors to pick that up correctly, and for the programming to do its thing. But more often we're exposed to occasional switches to resistance heating mode due to the low temperature cutoff, especially with the activity of the heat pump water heater drawing down the temperature in their space that they're running in. When the ambient temperature is sort of getting close to that 30, 36, 37 degree cutoff. I think our experience is that very occasionally we may see it trip into resistance mode in that case, and at least in the parts of in terms of kind of how it influences installation kind of decisions, at least in the parts of California that we're working in, seeing those temperatures is so rare that it really doesn't impact the the economics of the operation. We're talking about a few hours a year, so it sort of falls off in the noise in terms of kind of total energy consumption is sort of the way we think about it. But it does, make us careful for installations that are exposed to those temperatures to make sure that we're installing something that has at least a little bit of a backup resistance heating capability. Even if it's just the 900 watt kind of resistance that you can get on some of the plugins. If it's not a well climate controlled environment, that's something we're thinking about a lot.
Right. I think we want to not go around the whole group with every question if we can avoid it. I'd like to get on some other questions. Does anybody else have anything to add on that one? Okay, let's move on. Triss, do you want to?
Sure. We have a
next one?
question around challenges that you all might experience with permitting, inspections, and other back office operations, which is, something that comes up often with building departments. Anybody want to jump in there and Aaron, let's hear from you.
Sure. It's close to what we're doing, and I've got some solutions we're working on too internally, but it is a big problem, especially with how many different municipalities we have. SB 282 in California is supposed to help solve some of those problems with having a unified requirement for all municipalities. Paul kind of touched on it in your last panelist about municipalities all trying to do it their way. That definitely is a problem across the state and states. For us, like some of the program stuff we're doing, we do some virtual inspections within what we're doing. We're testing that out. It's hard to convince the municipalities to let that happen. With something as simple as heat pumps, I hope to see more of that. But there's definitely some games you have to play. In San Mateo County, we have 9 municipalities in a very small geographical area, and navigating all 9 of those, they all have their own little nuances. So there's definitely challenges there. You really have to have a dedicated person taking care of that stuff.
Thanks, Aaron. Any other thoughts to add on that piece? So that seems to resonate, I think, with many contractors. And every department's doing it their way. Stephen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm just gonna add just quickly that it would be interesting for other states, other jurisdictions to take a look at Oregon. I think it's very interesting here. Still haven't found anyone else in the country that's doing this. Oregon has a minor label program. So it's a very simple, it's what we call a good boy list, if you will. They understand there's contractors out there that have licenses or pulling permits to do anything they're supposed to do. So with a couple of requirements that are not hard to achieve, you can get these minor labels. You buy them for us, we buy them in books of 10s. They come straight from the state, and every water heater gets that permit. Now, not everyone gets inspected. Only 1 out of 10 gets inspected. The homeowner gets notified, somewhere down the road from the state that it's going to be thrown to the jurisdiction. They'll come in, they'll take a look at the water heater. I think it's a great way to be able to save homeowner time. It cuts down on other trips for the homeowner, cuts down on other trips for the contractor to have to be there on site. You think about it from the standpoint of our government or our jurisdictions, to be able to save the money driving around inspecting water heaters all day. I do think to a point there's a little bit of silliness out there. If we're licensed and we know what we're doing, there's got to be a little trust there. Other ways that we get inspections done, just kind of throw this on top, which I feel like is a caveat. When we do have inspections or site inspections, we work 2 states. So we go to state of Washington and we'll do virtual inspections there same day. Again, it's such a time saving. We get the virtual inspector comes on. It's basically, we go into a video app they have, we look at the water heater, how is it installed? If there's anything that needs to be fixed, as we all know, if we have to pull a permit, have an inspector come out, they fail your job, they leave, you got to come out, fix it, come back, start the process over again. With our virtual inspections, our inspectors work with us. If they see an issue, we can fix it right there on the spot. We're still in the home. If it's an issue we can't fix immediately, they give us basically some lead time. We shut down on the inspection, we make our fix, we call them back, they look at it, go, thank you, made that correction, we're done, we're out of there. It looks really good to the homeowner. It saves everyone time, saves everybody money.
Thank you, Stephen, for elevating those potential solutions. And that's something that we've heard as well, that with that spot checking of inspections, perhaps a pre-qualified contractor piece just for level of comfortability and quality and other factors. And thank you for elevating that. And I'll pass it to you, Owen, for our next question from the chat.
Well, thank you. So actually, we've got 2 questions which are pretty closely related, one from Cole, one from Zach. And the background here is that I think we all know that it's easier and lower risk and faster to just do a like-for-like replacement for to replace a gas heater with a gas heater if that's what the customer has on site. And this may not be something that you've experienced given the way that you pitch your businesses, but have you found that your installers or your salespeople are sometimes reluctant to quote heat pump water heaters or recommend heat pump water heaters to customers because of a perceived risk? And I think something I've come across among contractors sometimes is that there are certain kind of myths that arise and that aren't necessarily grounded in fact. Do those kinds of myths end up causing customers to back out or causing your own staff to not try and sell the heat pump water heater? And if that doesn't relate to you, to your business particularly, do you think that's an issue that others would struggle with, and how do you think we could approach that? And Anthony had a hand up. Do you want to contribute to that one, Anthony?
There you go. Yeah, so I think those are two great questions. So the first thing is that people, fear what they don't understand, and it comes down to education with our, employees, with our customers and whatnot. One of the big things I think is, why would I teach all of my employees something that is not going to be around in 10, 20, 30 years? In my opinion, I wasted a lot of time with showing everyone how to run a bunch of gas lines, how to size them correctly, how to run vent lines, all, general practices. For the most part, all of that is out the window. There's not much of that. There's few clients who still ask for that kind of stuff. So it's trying to educate you on something that you can stick with for, I mean, many, many years to come. The other thing is that um, I'm sad for the contractors who don't want to do these and want to install gas water heaters, because they're only, kneecapping themselves in terms of the future for them. I'm on Tech Clean has a great thing every Tuesday, office hours, and you can talk about all sorts of, uh, issues or concerns with claims and whatnot, since they're a big rebate program in California. And there are guys who just hop on, every week, who just started to get into heat pump waters, who just learned the rebate process. And if you're starting, so late in the game, let's say, in the Bay Area, we're going to have all these bans and 2027, 2031, and you just get into heat pump water heaters, you are going to have a massive learning curve to figure this out. And where, the people like us on this board are hitting the ground running, and we're experienced and with basically any situation. Whereas the new contractor looks at a house and says, well, it's not a garage. It's not in a space that has enough airflow. Sorry, can't do it. So it's something that, again, I think it's just, they're fearful because they don't understand and don't have enough training and experience on it. But these things in the beginning might, look a little bit difficult to understand, but in the grand scheme, it's very simple, to install these. There's nothing to it, as long as you start having a mental note. Just like some of the other bigger companies who talked before, there's just that learning curve. Once you get it, and you're on things like this, talking to other contractors, there's a lot of good information to understand all these do's and don'ts.
So you're taking that long-term view, trying to future-proof your business.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Aaron, you want to jump in? Oh, no, hand's gone down. Anybody else want to contribute on that one?
Yeah, sorry, I was having a problem there with audio. Yeah, Bethany kind of touched on this too in your last panelist about incentivizing contractors. And I think it's not so much about monetizing as it is just making it easier for us to participate in programs, deal with rebates, deal with permits. Right now, we know we can go install a gas water heater in under 4 hours, probably not going to pull a permit, and it's super matter-of-factly for us. Like we can whip that out on a Friday afternoon, one more at the end of the week, and be done with it. And I mean, there's a whole, you could have an hour-long conversation about this, about why the market's like this, and it has to do with retirees not wanting to learn new things and not enough young people as panelists. I mean, the panelists you have here are all pretty youngish, whereas compared to the vast majority of business owners, plumbing business owners across the country, they're over 60, and they don't have the appetite to learn. So making it easy for us to participate in a way that contractors want to participate, making me go to 4 different websites to produce different rebates at different sites, and then I have to go pull a permit, and half the time we're not pulling permits nobody's pulling water heater permits before they were doing heat pump water heaters. But But those kind of things, making it a matter of fact event, you will have adoption. The only way to actually get adoption across the industry is to convince the contractors. We are the salespeople. We are the ones that when we walk in, if somebody is dead set on a heat pump water heater, I could walk in and sell them a tankless if I wanted to that day. Like, we can find reasons why it's not perfect for them, and this is not their go around. Your water heater is going to break down, whether it's a heat pump water heater or gas water heater. It's going to happen in about 7 years. Maybe the next round is good time for you, but right now, Friday afternoon, you want hot water this weekend, right? Yeah, gas water heater is good for you. So to answer that question, like the guy who just wants to get out of there, and then it touches on what I said originally, like solving the harder problems. That's why we started doing it. We've overcome that, and Anthony mentioned it too. It's like it just becomes, you learn the problem, the process. But your panelists here, we wanted to do that. To get the other adoption, you have to make it easy. So,
but I have a follow-up on that one. We may be entering the era of the dual voltage water heater, where you can plug it in at 120 for a certain amount of time and then come back at some later point and upgrade it to 240. Do you think that would change things for some contractors?
I think it definitely will. It's something that I feel like they stole my idea. I gave that idea out to the market in this group, I think like 3 or 4 years ago. But good. Like that's a perfect example of like, make it easy, because plumbers don't typically talk to electricians. Most of them don't have an electrical license, at least in California. A plumber is a plumber. It's not even an HVAC guy. So asking them to now coordinate with an electrician, sure, they have a guy they drink beer with, and they've talked about heat pumps, and the electrician's like, I don't know when I can do a circuit, and all that just makes it hard. So certainly, if you could plug it in, that was one of the solutions. I'm running an emergency water heater program, and part of it is like sometimes electrician can't get there when the plumber shows up. We have a step down converter that we hook in and then trick the water heater into running in a heat pump only mode for a few minutes while we plug it into a 110, and we can run it. We can limp it along for a week until the electrician can get there for a panel upgrade or something. But not every plumber wants to have to invest in $150 device for how many different, and so all those things make it hard. But that's a good example of like the industry trying to make things easier. Super hard on the paperwork and formality stuff. We are contractors because we're not good at that stuff. There's a reason why we didn't go to college, right? Like most of us ended up here because we weren't good test takers. And you just asked us to go fill out, again, like 4 different websites. I got to learn that website. I got to write the person's name again, and I got to upload documents. It's not what we're good at. We're good at selling water heaters and installing them. So,
any other angles on that from any other panelist?
I'll throw in my 2 cents. Just from a business standpoint, I've come from a background before we stood our company up where, you're a water heater specialist, yet you don't want to install all water heaters. To me, that just didn't make any sense. And that's kind of what made us become who we are today. I think that you need to, one, train your staff. Who's answering the calls? They really are the one that's going to lead your installer as to what are they going to do that day. So right off the bat, whoever's answering the phone, they're selling heat pump water heater. Our office, our call center, anyone who's going to be taking the phone and talking to a customer, if it's electric, they want to be electric, it's heat pump water heater. To the point made earlier about tankless, that's an easy sell too. If it's gas, we want to be as efficient as possible. But for today's purpose, it's heat pump water heater. It's easy if you start with it, and don't sell it like it's some new creature. We treat it just like a regular electric water heater. It just happens to be a better water heater. So lead into that. And as long as it starts from that initial contact with your company and that call center and the person talking to your customer, then it's easy because the installer is going to put in anything. That's what they get paid to do. With that said, I had a conversation today. I'll make this really short. I think it's super important on a business standpoint, is that it is what we have to do. We're putting in heat pump water heaters, sure, but we all know the reasons why most contractors aren't putting them in. My conversation today was brought up as me driving down the road, and it was a couple of years ago. I noticed that I see HVAC companies That's what they do. A few months later, that same HVAC company's all of a sudden got an electrician on the side. So now they're HVAC and electrician. A few months later, it's HVAC, electrician, plumber. It's that same HVAC company. Why are they doing that? HVAC companies seem to be a little more technically inclined with the type of equipment and work that they put in that as plumbers, we're not used to. We put it in, it works, and we walk away and we're done. But I think the HVAC company is telling us something that if you don't broaden your horizons, you want to grow your business, take care of your consumer. Heat pump water heaters are coming. We have to put them in. I think you just can't be afraid to go to that next level. Water heaters are a plug-in appliance, right? Or a wired-in appliance. So sure, maybe they do fall under electrical or they fall under HVAC as equipment. But as of right now, it's still plumbing equipment. I think the plumbers shouldn't let this go. They should walk in and do it. Add the extra labels to your truck if you need to. HVAC, electrical, plumbing. With where we're going and the type of water heaters, it's not going to go backwards. I think Aaron mentioned it earlier. We all know, and Anthony, maybe you said it as well. We're not going. Heat pump water heaters are not going away. It's not the future. It's now, because if you're running a business, your right now is your future. If you're not planning ahead, training ahead, and getting ready to take on the next best thing and open the door the moment you have to do it, you're going to be behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which opens up that whole other conversation about licensing requirements. Like that's something that's on my mind as a policy person. Triss, how are we doing for time? Do we need to wrap up here and hand over?
No, we still
Let's
got,
check
question in chat.
we've got still another 15 minutes if folks are good. So however long,
Great.
yeah.
And I
All right, we've got
think
one more question
Steve,
coming up in chat here. Triss, you want to take it?
well, I think Stephen and Aaron also spoke to the question from Cole around commission. The solution is education and training, and also just recognizing that contractors are that connection to the sales of the equipment, and can make it happen. I think one question that we maybe haven't touched on is John's question around what are key ways to reduce install costs, especially if we're looking at incentives, which may or may not be fully reserved. So maybe we can start with Anthony and then we'll go around.
Yeah, I think um, we were talking about a little bit the 120 volt 240 GE unit, and that's been a massive game changer in the market. I've been waiting for that for a long, long time, and it solved all the problems we had with a lot of these other 120 volt plug-in models where you have the flexibility. It's not everything's lost. If they don't have enough hot water, there's always a path to upgrade. Um, we've been installing a ton of them. That makes for a quick install. We are getting some of them installed within 3 to 4 hours. And we even have, most of them going in San Francisco where we have, the option for like a PM inspection. So we'll come out there 7:30 a.m., install it. Inspector comes out between 12 and 1. It's a 1 day install out the door, integrated mixing valve and all that. It's, flex lines right into the top, a very, very simple install. So right now, that's our entry level water heater for our clients. And we offer like a special fixed cost on them because for the most part, they're a straight install. There isn't much to do as long as you have the height and width. They're quite a wide unit compared to the other manufacturers, but they've been working phenomenally well. And I think that's how you bring it down is you have a pretty simple package if for that client who wants a low cost option, and it just happens to be a really good option because it's quiet, has a low GWP on there, and you get that extra $1,500 low GWP kicker from Tech. So it kind of checks all the boxes other than just being, again, a larger unit physically than other brands in the market. And there was a question here about it. What percentage of dual G units actually install 240? Right now, it's about 50-50. It really depends on the client. The majority of clients who do the 120 volt is because they have no intention of upgrading their panel in the future. They might have a 70, 80, 100 amp panel, so it fits in perfectly there. We have quite a few of them that have gone in where the client is waiting for PG&E approval to upgrade to 200 amps, or they plan to do something later, and they have that flexibility to do so. GE made it very, very simple. I mean, you don't even have to adjust anything on the unit. You literally take off the flex cable and put in conduit, and you're good to go. It's, again, they really did a phenomenal job.
So I have a question related to that then. So we've been stuck in a holding pattern for a while here where plumbers are often or usually prepared to give a quote over the phone for a simple, gas to gas replacement. They'll say that, $1,600 or whatever. They'll just go out to the site and they'll do it. But we haven't had that, as far as I'm aware, for heat pump water heaters. More or less nobody has been able to just be confident enough to give a price over the phone, and every job is its own beautiful snowflake, and that comes with additional cost. Do we think that we're going to be able to move to a place where more plumbers are able to quote over the phone for a quote standard heat pump water heater job?
That's what we do now. I mean, 95% of our jobs are booked over the phone. We rarely do site visits unless we have to do like a split system where there's a long pipe run, or maybe we need to add a sub panel or something crazy like that. But for the most part, we can give a fixed price over the phone. We have generally fixed pricing on heat pump units, but that's primarily because we're not a full service plumbing company. We're a water heater company. And so our hands are been set up to do heat pump water heaters. We don't we don't know, we don't have to say, oh, we have to order it. We have to see if it's on the truck. It is on the truck. It is on the warehouse. It is in stock. So I think that takes out a lot of that iffiness back and forth.
Great. And maybe I'll pass it over to Ruben to see if you have anything to add on, or any other thoughts on reducing install costs. And if not, there are a few other questions in our Q&A.
The only other thing that kind of comes to mind quickly, which has been touched on a little bit already, is just on the permitting and inspection sort of front. There's a lot of variability that we see in the different jurisdictions we work in terms of kind of like the number of minutes required to get a permit and the price of the permits. Like, we're paying anywhere from like $50 to $700 in permitting fees from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and spending anywhere from, maybe 20 minutes to like, hours spread out over weeks, like working with jurisdictions to try to get permits issued for these. And so that, at the bad end, that can really have an impact on project cost, I think. And getting that sort of more uniform in the good direction, I think would be a big help.
Great point. Sounds like another vote for streamlining permitting process and time and money. Owen, we have a few questions in the Q&A. I don't know if you've seen those. One on mobile homes in colder climates.
I'm just looking at that now. Sorry, which is the colder climate one? Oh, here we are. Oh, yeah. Okay. Question is about mobile and manufactured homes in colder climates. The question has an Illinois-based program that is considering adding heat pump water heaters to the list of technologies that can be incentivized for income-qualified residents. Does this seem like a sensible thing to do, to install heat pump water heaters in colder places in manufactured and mobile homes? I know there are unique permitting issues around those homes in most states because they're federally regulated, not locally regulated.
I just added a link to the chat. Ecological, they're based out of here in California, specifically designed to solve that issue. Pretty cool water heater. I'm not a paid sponsor. My biggest thing about them, and the plumbers on here will laugh, they have two handles on the side of the tank. And so all of our plumbers, that's like the first thing they saw. There was two handles. So we were like in love with them, easy to lift. But they have 4 models. They have 2 towers, and then they have 2 split system ones where you get the